Thank you for having me here, Anne-Marie and the team. My name is Christopher Olobo, and I am the CEO of Dhamana Guarantee Company. I also double as the board chair of the Africa Mini-Grid Developers Association. So at Dhamana, where I am the CEO, our focus is to mobilize domestic capital into infrastructure and energy assets across Africa. With respect to the Africa Mini-Grid Developers Association, where I am the board chair, our focus is really how do we mainstream mini-grids into the energy access across Africa. Now, turning back to Dhamana, it's a credit guarantee company that is really set up by very credible shareholders, the African Development Bank, the UK's PIDG, the Africa Finance Corporation, and a local pension fund in Kenya called CPF, the County Pension Fund, with a mandate that is very simple: how do we mobilize local domestic capital into infrastructure? Our concept is actually quite simple, so very simple concept, but the impact of the concept is huge. That impact creates the opportunity for capital to get deployed into energy projects that would otherwise not have been deployed. That's a very interesting question, Anne-Marie. So the shift that we're seeing, yes, there is a shift, but actually the shift is not even. And why do I say it's not even? So on the demand side, we have investors that are increasingly, because of their ESG mandates, they want to deploy into renewable, into energy projects. So that demand is there. But on the supply side, that's where we have an issue. Projects are not bankable, projects are not guarantee ready. So the opportunity for us at Dhamana is how do we bridge the gap between the capital is there, but the projects are not ready. So we use our guarantee to de-risk that and enable the investors to deploy into the sector. Challenges are quite unique. So from a financier's point of view, where we sit, we're trying to help capital move in. There are three main challenges. And these challenges would sit, who is developing the project, the challenges at the project level, and challenges with who is going to make payment. So let me just explain that. So who is developing the project? Do they have execution capacity? Right? We're seeing so many developers come of all sorts of sizes. They want to develop. Do they have the capacity? Do they have the track record? That's challenge number one. Challenge number two, at the project level, really relates to structuring. Has this project been structured correctly? Is it bankable? Can we rely on the cash flow focus? Is it going to turn out into what you have told us, right? And then challenge number three, which is who's paying for it, are the off-takers. Is the off-taker credible? What's their credit rating? Do they have a track record of paying? So those three challenges, to my mind, are the biggest issue to financing. It should make it a good opportunity, because what we do at Dhamana is to absorb this credit risk, right? And by credit risk, so at the end of the day, investors are interested in one thing. They're interested in predictability. So are the cash flows predictable? Is the revenue predictable? Number two, they're interested in the predictability of the contractual framework. If I'm going to invest in a project for 10, 15 years, can I have certainty that the contract framework on day one is going to be the same on day 15, okay? So that predictability is important. And then lastly is just the risk allocation at the project. So is this correctly allocated? The party that can manage the risk, if it's going to be land acquisition, is it truly the government managing that, or that risk is going to creep to me as an investor? So at Dhamana, we help to absorb that risk, and what the investor faces is going to be Dhamana risk, and that helps them to then deploy, because they can deploy on the back of a credible guarantee company that is very highly rated across East Africa. Success story across my career would have to be viewed in very different lenses, right? And I'll start first of all at myself. So, obviously before, coming on board as the founding CEO of Dhamana, I had a job that was a very stable job. So moving from my stable job into credit guarantee company, to me is already a very big success story, because that's placing me at the front of the change that we need to be seeing across Africa. Now, when I then look at what we're doing at Dhamana, success to me would not be a single project, right? But success has to be how guarantees that Dhamana is, providing to the market. How is that changing behavior for investors across the asset class? Okay, and when I see, for instance, we're looking at transactions where a bank typically had never deployed into the mini-grid space. Now they're deploying across 13 mini-grids in a remote part of East Africa. Is that success? Absolutely, that is success, right? Number two, when we see banks that have historically deployed 4-year money and now deploying, 7-year money into the solar space, is that success? Absolutely, that is success. When I go to conferences like here, and pension funds are saying they're instructing their fund managers to deploy to the asset class, that has to be success, because collectively, that's what impact is going to be. And to me, success has to be not a one-off event, but actually success is sustained through credible pipelines that would enable us to unlock. In East Africa, I'll tell you, there's $200 million worth of local currency liquidity. So success is if we unlock that liquidity into energy projects, into distributable renewable, that is success. I'm in Cape Town. So first of all, Cape Town is a very beautiful place to be, right? The mother city. And so I have to thank NLIT for inviting me. And I also understand there is a marathon in Cape Town happening on Sunday, the Cape Town Marathon. So I will stay and run the marathon, right? So I can see Cape Town through the eyes of the runner, okay? But at NLIT, my message is very simple, right? Guarantees to be successful, guarantees don't have to be a support tool. We don't have to be an afterthought. Guarantees must mainstream. So as governments are thinking through systems, guarantees must be embedded into the entire ecosystem of financing. Not an afterthought that you try to, plug in. That will not work. So the key messages that I will be pushing at my session, which is going to be in 2 hours, how are guarantees driving bankability, right? And the message is simple. Guarantees are helping to de-risk. So the risks I talked about, guarantees are de-risking that to enable capital to flow in. Guarantees are enabling developers and investors to look at pipelines and not individual projects. In Africa, we will achieve success through scale and not through individual projects. And lastly, what guarantees are doing is to standardize. I can tell you, investors, credit committees, if you don't have a standard product that is simple, then they will be very shy to deploy capital. So that's my message. And at the end of it, I want to leave NLIT when guarantees are mainstream, or people think and they know guarantees are mainstream, and not looking at guarantees as an afterthought. Thank you. Absolutely, right? So in the marathon, it's a whole strategy. I'll be running 42 kilometers. It's a strategy for 4 hours. It can't be something you don't think about. So think about guarantees like you think about a marathon.
Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you very much.